Welcome to the podcast. And today I have Jaxon Italiano on the show. Jaxon recently completed 8,008 pull-ups in 24 hours, making him the current world record holder as of 2023. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And today we're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about motivation. But let's start off with the why, the motivation. Why did you decide to do this?
It was kind of I feel like I don't really have much of a backstory compared to other people that have
Yeah.
done the record, but I think I've just always been fairly good at them for whatever reason, probably genetically. I just used to go to the park a lot, maybe when I was in high school, and just do like a bunch of reps, or just like calisthenics, just to improve my upper body strength. But I always noticed that with the pull up, I was always just dominating over everything else I did, like by quite a big margin. And I think at the time then I was doing cycling, so competitively, but like I was doing it like a lot, and I don't know if it was a way I wanted to keep going because it was quite. I had to make a lot of sacrifices in terms of my social life and also family life in terms of how much better I wanted to get. And then I think I kind of reached a point where I was like, oh, I don't really want to be living like this. And I felt like it was a big waste to have all this idea of what it meant to be disciplined in something and what it meant to be healthy to, or like good in a particular sport. And I kind of redirected it towards this idea of breaking a record. So it kind of came off like that. It's a bit strange, but yeah, that's the way it kind of, that was my main motivation, I think, before around why I wanted to do it. It was just because I just wanted to see if I could do it pretty much. And I
Right.
was done with cycling. So I was like, well, this might be a stupid idea, but I'll give it a try at least. Then I won't be so disappointed in myself.
Yeah, right. And when did you decide that you wanted to do the record?
um, well, initially I had an idea of doing like the minute record, which was like a couple years ago,
Yeah.
but I never really like gave it a lot of thought into that one. And then when I got serious about it, was probably the end of 2021, maybe December or something. I was like looking up a few records and I stumbled across the 24-hour one. I was like, oh, that should be like kind of doable. Like you don't know if you don't try. So yeah, it was around so probably December 2021, I reckon. And I think I
Right.
started training maybe in March the following year. So
Yeah, right. So you might be one of the few people that
yeah.
wasn't motivated by David Goggins, I'd say.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
actually had no idea who he was. Literally, yeah, which is
right?
crazy. Like how can I go so long without knowing him? Like I must have been living under a rock at that point. Yeah, then because I think I started studying it a bit more because I was a bit lost as to like the way to train for it, or just want to get a bit of a history on the people that have got around to it. And I
Yeah.
think it was maybe like 2 months into training, I came across his name and I was like, oh, who is this guy? Like all the articles are on him, and then I realized who he was. I was like, oh, okay. And then some people, when I started telling a few people, I was thinking of getting the record. I was like, oh, David Goggins did that. And I was like, who? And then, yeah, so everyone knew him. I don't know how I'd known about him, but yeah, pretty weird way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely quite funny.
Yeah.
So how many pull-ups could you do before you decided to do the record? What was your sort of best?
Within 24 hours or just like
Just
within a
like,
session,
just like
maybe?
a workout, a session, sort of what numbers were you hitting before you even decided?
Um, Maybe around 50, probably.
Oh, okay.
I'd do like, I think what I tried to do was like 4 sets of 12, maybe, because I was kind of like thinking more of muscle mass. So like the reps kind of, you meant to go in between 8 and 12 reps to kind of suit that type of result. And yeah, that's what I was doing. I did chin ups as well. So technically it'd be like around 100 if you include the chin ups. But yeah,
Right.
purely pull ups wouldn't be any more than 50.
Right. Was that actually not too many, considering how many you probably needed to do to get the record?
Yeah, but I feel like at the time, like you're not really, when you're not thinking about the record and you're just doing it for the sake of it, just a bit of fun in the park. It's a bigger number than you think. Like 50 is like, I don't know. I saw your Instagram. You were doing like a few pull-ups. I think you were going for the record as well a while
I was
ago.
just going for about 1,000, just as a personal record.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
then I
right.
took a big break, but now it's something I want to get back into. I'm a bit more
Yeah,
motivated, but I do about like 50 to 100 in a session. But I've always thought like, man, that's like not nearly
yeah.
enough. You needed to be doing like volume wise.
Oh, yeah, for the record, it's not. But as someone that doesn't have any aspirations to break a record, it's still a fair, like, it's a
Right,
good
right.
amount. Like, anyone
Oh
should be
yeah.
proud to be able to do it.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, but back then I was kind of just thinking that way, like 50. That's
Oh,
like not many people would be doing that. But yeah, I was pretty proud of that even
right.
then.
So that was around the end of 2021, 2022, right?
Yeah, Joe, yeah. But I wasn't really, it was like really sporadic. It would have been like a couple sessions a month, and I wouldn't be bothered to go to the park because I was like concentrating on cycling. And when you're doing that much volume on the bike, you really want to just rest as much as you can. Like they say the best athletes are the laziest ones because they just sit down and want to recover the whole
Mm.
time. So it was kind of a waste of time because you're using the legs. What's the point of using upper body as a cyclist? It doesn't make any sense. I just enjoyed it. I just like doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't really work out. But yeah.
Yeah, right. So from that 50 to 100, and when you started training, what did your training look like per session?
Um, so I think the first session I did was I just wanted to see if I could do world record pace for about an hour, and I could. So I think the first time was like 350 pull-ups in an hour. The same thing. I think at the time the average pace was like 324 or something like that, and I was just above it. But when you're at that moment, you're like exhausted after having only done 50 reps over like a maybe about 10 minutes. Comparing that to just, I think that works out to be about 6 a minute for an hour to get like around 360. Yeah, it was hard. Like once I finished the hour, I was like, oh, it's really doable. Like, how can this guy possibly be doing it for an extra 23 hours? So the way I kind of did it, once I got a sense of where I was at, I was able to use that metric as a way to create or structure the rest of my program. So there's a training, like a method of training in cycling and endurance running called polarized training. And what they do is they get like pretty much the level that you can sustain for an hour. So cycling would be watts, like how much power you can put out. And then you divide that into different zones. So you're meant to spend about 95% of your training in a really low endurance zone, like barely even doing anything, just getting the blood working. It improves mitochondria. You just pretty much get establishing good endurance. This is what you need for the pull up thing. You're doing it for 24 hours, you need it. Um, and that worked really well because I was able to go out every single day and do it. And within like a few months, I was just improving like a lot. Like I would definitely did not expect myself to improve as much as I did with something that's not even like scientifically factual in pull-ups from another sport. Like it just wouldn't make sense why it would work, but it kind of did. Um, and then yeah, so that's the way I began to do it. Yeah, so
Did,
that
did
that
that
worked.
did that low intensity just involve a lot of hanging, or like you just do like 1 or 2 reps and sit out for like
Yeah.
a minute or two, then do like just 1 or 2 reps more and keep doing that?
Um, so, yeah, so because you're meant to divide your endurance paces like around 50% of what you can sustain within an hour. So if I'm doing 6 a minute for an hour, it's a max I can do. My endurance pace would be 3 a minute for about 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. If that was a session that I needed to do. Um, yeah, so it'd be really easy. Like it might not sound easy, but if you can do that much for an hour, then half of that is a walk in the park. It's just about keeping your brain occupied pretty much. Uh, and then maybe a couple of days a week, I would have intervals within the session. So it'd be like an hour of 3 pull-ups a minute, and then it'd be 5 minutes of 10 pull-ups a minute. I mean, sorry, about 5 minutes of 6 pull-ups a minute, followed by another 5 minutes of rest, which would be 3 a minute, then back into five at 6 a minute. It's just like pyramid sessions, that type of thing. And then you just finish it off easy. And that would kind of the idea of that is that it pushes what you can sustain within an hour above, and it doesn't do it too. It's not too difficult to do because you have a good baseline with the endurance, so they
Mm.
kind of work towards each other, and eventually, yeah, you just reach this level that you're ready to go. But the problem with polarized training is that, in particularly in pull-ups, is that you're doing it every day. So I got a lot of injuries at the beginning, and I eventually just like plateaued and crashed out, and I had to rethink what I needed to do. So yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it to other people, but it's a good way to establish a good endurance baseline.
Right. How did you get into injury? If you were doing sort of a low volume amount.
Yeah, so my at the beginning, my form was way off. I wasn't really bending my arms. I was kind of like going that way, and then yeah, I don't know. It was just psychologically, I thought that I was extending all the way, but I looked at a video. I was like, I was nowhere near. Like my arms weren't extended at all. Uh, and then that I got this shoulder injury like in the rotator cuff, just at the back
Wow.
there, and I didn't want to believe that it was because of my form, but it was. So once I fixed that, that was all done and gone. But then the next injury came from my grip strength. So I think maybe 3 weeks in, I think I was going for an hour again just to see how much I had improved. And I just felt like this huge, not really like a snap, but it was like something ripped from here to down here. And I couldn't grip anything. I had no grip at all. And that was a bad one. That lasted the whole training all the way up to the very day. Um, so the only way I could alleviate any type of pain was using cuffs. I don't know if you've ever used them before. They're like strapped to your wrist, and it's like a hook. Which I think I got a pair here. Um,
Did you use those for the record as well?
uh, no, you're not allowed to. So I had to try and it's a tough one. I kind of like I gambled a bit on the day because I was like, well, my grip strength is probably like not even there because I've only been using these. So yeah, they're
Are those like victory grips, like grips that you be put under your hand and then on the top and you like slide them over, or like different?
Not really. Yeah, I have a pair of them as well. They're really good. I wish I would have used them the whole time because that would have definitely avoided me the injury. But they're kind of like that. So they're completely metal or titanium, and they
Oh
just hook
wow,
onto the bar. So you don't actually use any of um your sorry
your
your
forearms.
grip strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that it puts more pressure on your back and your forearms here. So you're strengthening that part more, but your wrist is it's gone. You're pretty much just eliminating this whole muscle here, which isn't ideal, but it's actually harder. It's different. I found that going back into or trying to teach my body to use my hands was a bit difficult because I was so used to not using that muscle at all. So this part was all strong, but that was just weak. Um, and then on the actual day, I bought those victory grips you were talking about, and because
Mm.
they're actually strapped to your wrist, there's a lot of load that's being removed. So it's like really good. It saved me for sure. Like I was very worried that my wrist would go, and yeah, somehow it didn't. Just because of those victory grips, it was great. Yeah,
All right. So you hadn't used victory grips until the day of the record, and that's when you used it for that day.
yeah, yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So it took a huge risk. Um, but yeah, they're great. I'd recommend them to anyone. They're amazing, and they don't even like. I was expecting my hands to turn out way worse than they did because obviously having to use hooks the whole time, you don't get any calluses. Your hands are like baby skin smooth, like
Yeah.
because you're not actually gripping anything. So my hand looked like I hadn't done any exercise at all. So I was really worried about that as well. But because there's like a carbon layer in the victory grips,
Yeah,
it just prevents so much potential damage to it. And as
for
well,
sure.
I had like these one and done sticky things that wrap around your palm. They're
Yeah.
really good as well. And just a few other things I like researched so much. I was like, oh, hopefully this works. But yeah,
Oh, nice. I
it
love
was
that.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. What do you think of some of the other pull-up holders that have said that using grips is cheating and that you should use it without grips to, I mean, it's more of a hard thing to do, but because it hits your forearms if you're not using grips. Um,
Yeah.
some of them get rhabdo. I'm guessing you didn't get rhabdo, so it's a bit of a trade-off. But what do you think of that?
Um, well, actually it's funny because the previous record holder actually met he told me he thought I don't really want to read the message, but he was kind of like you broke the record because you were using like the wrist straps. And I
Yeah.
was like a bit alarmed by it. I was like, wait, hang on, I'm pretty sure you use the exact same ones as me. But I went back to look at his image, like his video or whatever. But I realized that he hadn't actually strapped them
Nah, he
to
hadn't
his
strapped
wrist.
them.
He
Nah.
just kind of like held them. And I just thought that was a bit like I just didn't understand why he did that. It just I don't really yeah. I think I haven't really looked at what anyone else has done, but that was the first. Like in Brandon, the guy had it last.
Yeah,
He was
Brandon.
the
Yeah.
first person I saw to have used them because I didn't really. There aren't really other videos of other people doing them. They're just wearing gloves and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, the guidelines that Guinness tells you, there's nothing about anything like that. Like it's not. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call it cheating. Um, I don't know. It's a hard one. Like I kind of felt a bit guilty almost, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of stuck with me a bit. I was like, oh, is it really like? Was it fair that I did that? But yeah, then I kind of think back to all that I worked for up until that moment. I was like, no, no, I did deserve it. Like
Yeah.
people have no idea how much effort I put into it, how much mental strain it was to sit out there for 6 hours a day. But the beat his record by like with just under 6 hours to go. So I think even without them, maybe minus the potential for an injury, it would have been very doable either way. But yeah,
Right. Right.
they were great. And I think he even told me if he goes for them again, he'll use the straps. Which yeah, I
Oh,
encourage.
really?
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Does
Yeah.
he? Do
So
you think he's gonna go for them again?
um it's hard to say. I'd like to think he does. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
be upset at all. Like I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea to like because we don't really know what the limit is and
Yeah.
they want to
Exactly.
keep pushing people towards it.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
think now that the record's been broken without the grips, I think it's pretty fair game that anybody, sorry, that has been broken with the grips. I think it's pretty fair game that any future contender can use the grips. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was more Brandon's personal like bias or ego towards like because he did it
Yeah, I
without
think
the
it's just the
grips,
mentality
like
behind it.
yeah, his
Yeah.
mentality, like he wanted to be like super hard about it. So, and which I get where he's coming from, and I also get where
Yeah,
you're
that's
coming
fair
from
enough.
because like you didn't have rhabdo. Like David Goggins got rhabdomyolysis, Brandon Tucker got rhabdomyolysis, which is like pretty bad on your muscles. Like it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
fucked up. You have to go to the hospital. So I was actually going to ask you, like, did you have? I'm guessing you didn't have to go to hospital or anything like that, right?
No, I didn't. I did the guy at the gym who operated the whole thing, like set up the event, he was like, you need a doctor there because I'm looking at all the like research and the last like 10 people who have done this have gone to hospital because yeah, and I was like, oh. So I went to my GP. He plays at the squash club that I work at. It was there for a competition. I was like, I kind of need a GP there. And he just laughed at me. It was like, no chance. I was like, oh, okay. What do I do if I get rhabdo? And he was like, there's literally nothing I can do. Like, I can't even put you on a drip. I'm not qualified to be able to help you in that situation. Yeah, so I was kind of like, oh, surely I'll be all right. And if like anything happens, we can just call the paramedics or something. But yeah, I didn't. Well, there was one scare during the event. I think maybe 5 hours in, or I hit around 3,500, and I was getting really really hot. Like I think the aircon in the gym was about 18 degrees, and I was trying to ask the guy to put it down, but legally you can't put it down any lower than that. just for health reasons within a
Oh
public
yeah.
environment like that. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And then I had like one fan on me, and then there was like another fan on the ceiling, but it wasn't really, it was like going that way. It kept moving. So I
Mm,
couldn't really get a focus on me. It was like a really good one. Um, and then I was talking to the people that were counting the reps, so the witnesses, and one of them was a PT because the rules state that you need to have one of them as a PT. And he was like, just jump in the shower, have like just blasted it cold, and so you can reduce your body temperature, but just stop now because if you're gonna keep going, like it will not turn out good. So I thought I had rhabdo at that point, but I don't think that's a symptom because I wasn't urinating either. Like I didn't urinate for the first like 14 hours because I was sweating so much. And he also suggested putting like Coke cans on my neck, my hands, and my toes. So in like the whole video, I have like Coke cans on my feet because apparently it's the easiest way to cool down
mm,
your body temperature. But yeah, once I had like a cold shower, I just kind of like chilled out a bit, and then I was like ready to go again. But that was a bit scary because I was kind of when you're in the moment, you're not really thinking right, and I was getting a bit worried just because of it.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so that was the biggest scare during the day, but I'm not sure if it was rhabdo, but it was on my mind. But I didn't go to hospital at the end of the day either. So I think I trained for it well enough for me to be able to avoid it. Because what the other people that have done the record, the what I just don't think they did enough volume. The one guy I can think of who actually gave me a lot of advice for the training was Andrew Shapiro. He had the record. He actually got 10,000 pull-ups one time in 24 hours, but they disallowed it because Guinness said his arms weren't fully straight. And I got a lot of training advice from him. And we were, because he did it back when he was, I think, 17 the first time, and he got around 7,000. We were hitting the same numbers. He didn't get rhabdo either, and he finished with like 6 hours to spare just because he had done the record. And I think it's once you can't use your hands, you're pretty much done. And I think that's what happened to him. And because we just followed a similar training structure, we both didn't get rhabdo. We just trained very well for it, I think.
Mm. And were your training sessions like 1 hour, 2 hours? Were you doing many, many, many hours, or what did it look like?
At the beginning, it was probably like 14-hour weeks. So I'd usually have a big Sunday, maybe 4 hours of just pure endurance. And then during the day, it'd be like an hour, maybe 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. And then after my like worst injury, which was in my shoulder, that was just from overuse. Um, Actually, no. So up to that point, I ended up doing 6 hour days just to get my body used to doing long hours. And then after that, once I got a bit of help from the guy from America, Andrew, um, I was doing maybe 2 or 3 days a week, but they were all very long days, up to 6 hours at 10 a minute, just the whole time. They were really hard. Definitely the worst part of the training.
Mm. How did you deal with like overtraining? Do you have ice baths or incorporate anything in particular, or just take a break? Yeah, how did you do that?
Um, Actually, funny thing you mentioned the ice bath. I never really understood why people do it because it doesn't actually promote protein synthesis. It doesn't help recovery at all. It does a complete opposite. Which is why I always wondered the people who have done the record have done like ice baths. It doesn't scientifically doesn't make any sense because you're stopping your body from recovering at a faster rate. It's yeah, which is kind of strange to think of it like that. You think it would help, but it doesn't really. It kind of hinders your ability to recover faster. Um, yeah. So just for people that are listening, that's like if you look it up, it's true. But I definitely didn't do that. I just rest and sleep. I pretty much just didn't do any other exercise at all, except for the pull-ups. So
Mm.
that really helped my body to concentrate on exactly the areas that needed attention, which were predominantly like here and my lats. So yeah, eating well. Yeah,
What did
yeah.
your
Excuse me.
what did your diet look like?
Um, it wasn't. it was like it wasn't very controlled. It wasn't much of a diet. I was pretty much eating whatever I wanted to because I wasn't worried about putting on weight because the exercise did it for me. Like I lost weight doing that and I have quite a fast metabolism. Um, the main thing was that before a big session, I'd eat like a huge bowl of pasta just for carbs. I drink as much as I could during the day when I could remember it. Um, and maybe just some source of protein after the end. No powder or anything, just like fish or whatever. But for most of the time, I was eating pretty much whatever I wanted. I wasn't very concentrating on what I was taking in. It was just for the key days I needed to make sure I was primed for because there would be times where I hadn't eaten enough carbs and I'd just die during the middle of like a 4 hour day and like start hallucinating and stuff because I just didn't eat enough.
Mm.
And yeah, I wanted to avoid that as much as possible. Yeah, so for the most part, the diet wasn't very like strongly maintained, but as long as I was getting what I needed, then that was all that mattered. Like I was still going out and drinking and stuff, like most weekends, and like enjoying myself. I wasn't eliminating anything really. Yeah.
Right, right. And what did your diet look like during the 24 hours? Did you eat anything or have any liquids?
Yeah, I had to eat a lot. Mainly Cliff Bars. I don't know if they do them over in New Zealand, but you might see now like the IGAs or something. They've got like Cliff Bars are like carbohydrate bars, the best. They're very starchy, so they make you very thirsty. Yeah, they were really good in just giving me a good amount of energy. Pineapple. I don't know why, but everyone like a lot of people have done the pull-up record have always like sworn by pineapple. I never really understood why, but the guy who went for 10,000 or Andrew back like a few years ago, he said that for the first 6 hours he only ate pineapple and didn't drink any water, which is crazy
Mm.
because I think it's just got so much fluid in it and it's got the electrolytes in it that you need. But I didn't want to risk that. That just seems like kind of crazy to me. So I did have pineapple, but I didn't go to that extent where I wasn't drinking any water. I drank probably about 15 bottles of Powerade during the whole thing. Bananas, anything sugary, anything I could get my hands on. McDonald's even. Um, yeah, just plenty of water. The main thing I had to think of was reducing my caffeine intake and any like really high glucose products from the start and using them towards the end because you don't want to spike up your blood sugar level and then crash, which is what can happen. So
Mm.
maybe after about 14 hours, I was thinking about using them because I was getting very tired, like sleepy. There was some times I was like nodding off and just not wanting to get up, but uh, yeah, they really helped me like for the tail end. So anyone doing the attempt, like don't have caffeine or like high sugar products until the very end because that's where it'll save you.
All right. How did you know you were ready to do the pull-up record? When did you know you were ready?
When I could hold 10 pull-ups a minute for 6 hours. So that's when I because that's pretty much half the record at the that was pretty much half the record at the time. Within only a quarter of the day. And I was like, oh, if I can just make up everything else later on, then that's fine. Um, I think the last yeah, that's what I had in mind. I thought that would work quite well because the dude that also did 10,000, he could do 12 a minute for 6 hours, which is crazy. And that's close to that's like 4,320 in 6 hours, and that's just short of 10,000. And because he got 10,000 within the rest of the time frame, I was like, okay, surely I can make up 7,700 for the rest of the go. And
Mm.
yeah, that's when I was like, because that's the 6 hour record. It doesn't exist anymore, but the record states that it's about 3,500. So once I could beat that, I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm ready for it.
Mm. Right, right. Oh, nice. And were you mainly doing just like regular pull-ups? Did you do other pull-ups? Did you do weighted pull-ups? What's the recommendation here?
Didn't do any weighted. I also didn't understand why people did that. you're what you're doing is you're trying to train your body just to do its own weight. So I never
Mm.
really understood what the point of the body weight was. I think people do it as a way to get out of a long session. Because oh, it's harder, so I only have to do a shorter session, right? But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't translate. You're meant to be training endurance. You're not meant to be doing like you're not using a weight during the event.
Yeah,
So why are
that's
you
right.
doing it during training?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never did that, but I only did pull-ups, didn't do any chin-ups, didn't do any neutral grip stuff. The only other exercise I would probably kind of do was just like mobility exercise with like bands, just to strengthen my shoulders
Mm.
or back, just so I wouldn't relapse into an injury again. But for the most part, it was just pull-ups because yeah, that's what the event is. So just getting your body
Oh,
used to
right.
that.
Yeah, yeah. And did you do any forearm training, or was that just pull-ups is all you needed?
Um, no, I don't think I did. I probably should have because I was using the hooks.
Yeah,
But no, I didn't really do any type of that. I only stretched that like those areas,
yeah.
nothing coordinated towards that area.
Right, right, right. And you did this all yourself? Did you have a personal trainer helping you, or yeah, what did it look like?
Um, no, I didn't have a personal trainer. I don't feel like anyone would really be qualified to understand how to um grasp the idea of training for
Yeah,
something like it.
yeah.
I think that's a bit out of yeah. I had thought about it, but I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's unlikely that anyone out of the people that have already done the record would know anything about how to train for it. But I did
Yeah,
get a few like when I started like fleshing out the idea of training for it, I did ask a few people what they thought was the best way to do it, and, and they were mainly personal trainers, and it was kind of like it wasn't the best advice. It was a lot of stuff to do with not pull ups. So I was kind of like, well, why would I do that when I'm not training for that? Like a lot of band work and resistance and stuff like that, and it
mm,
didn't really make sense. But I definitely owe all my advice, like all my thanks and advice to like Andrew who had the record. He just pretty much mentored me the like for the good last 10 weeks, just because I was completely lost after having had so much injury and um just overtraining pretty much. It was great. Like now after that final 10 weeks, I was only doing 2 days a week at the least, maybe four at the most. Because I had so much rest in between, I was just able to recover so much faster, and all the injuries just completely disappeared. So it was great.
right. How did you make sure you were doing the correct form? Because I know you said Andrew did 10,000, but he wasn't going all the way down. How did you make sure you were going all the way down on every rep? Yeah. How do you train for that?
Yeah, I was pretty worried about it. Yeah, I think I just videoed myself a bunch of times. Uh, because it's not just having going all the way down. It's more your chin's got to be above the bar. You can't rock. Your feet have to be. I mean, your everything from your hip down to your foot needs to be completely straight. So I was worried that I was like rocking a bit, or maybe
Mm,
my knees weren't completely straight or something. There's more to just like once I had the arms out of the way, that was just for me videoing myself and checking myself out when I was tired as well to see if I wasn't going back into old habits. But yeah, the side profile gave me a good idea of what it looked like, and yeah, the form was good from what I could tell, but I still was worried. Like even after I'd done the record, I was sure for some reason that I wouldn't get it because those last reps looked pretty funky. Um, yeah, so I was like, oh, they might discount it for that. But I was pretty honest during the day. If I saw a rep that I didn't like, I'd ask the counter to like put it back one. I was like, yeah, that wasn't a good rep. Just go down. So I think with that in mind, the people looking at it kind of, oh, this guy, oh, he's obviously like mindful of his bad reps. So like, yeah, we'll hopefully we'll give him the record. Maybe that's why I had in mind. Yeah.
right, right. That's quite funny. Because yeah, I've noticed the same thing when I've been training. I'm thinking like, how do you do like 8,000 pull-ups and not sort of rock on the last reps, not really you know, figuring out how to get your chin above the bar and just above the bar. Like, what's the difference between that and not getting it above the bar?
Mm,
Um, yeah, those are all like big factors, eh? Yeah. Um,
yeah, yeah. Because if I look back at the videos, because I have to obviously submit all the evidence. If I look at the side profile, the last ones always were a bit like, "How you going?" Like they were proper pull-ups, but they looked like they required a lot more energy, and because of that, you kind of like heave yourself over the bar rather than just kind of do it naturally like that.
mm,
That was another thing I was worried about because the last rep is always like it never looks as good as the first. But I think because they like you couldn't discount them as pull-ups, that was the thing. Like despite maybe having a bit of a rock just from having to haul yourself over to use an extra bit of energy, I think generally for the most part they were all proper pull-ups. So yeah, it's just that always the first one's always looks way better than the last.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So now we'll go into some audience questions. First one's from
Yeah.
Florian. He's asking, how long did it take to hang for long periods without breaks?
How long did it take to hang? Like just
Yeah,
free hanging?
yeah, I guess like free hanging or being able to do so many pull-ups requires a lot of hanging.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing because I had the hooks. I couldn't really like I was kind of like just relying on them, so they were doing all
yeah,
the work for me. But if I wanted to decompress my back a bit, I would use the hooks just to like maybe 30 seconds. It's
mm,
hard. I don't even know. I was doing hooks and I could like barely do it for 30 seconds. I have no idea how people do it for like over a minute or 2 minutes. Like if there's competitions that go to like a fair and it's like hold the bar for 2 minutes, like
yeah,
just free hanging. And they're like tilting as well. They're like not
yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah.
level. But how can you even do that? I can't even do it with hooks for 30 seconds on a non-rotating bar. These guys can do it for 45 minutes.
Really? No way.
So yeah,
How long do you think you could do it now? Like after the record? Like a
uh,
minute or even then, no.
maybe 30 seconds. Because
Really?
just because
Right.
I'm not injured. I don't know. I think I have weak grip strength. I don't know.
That's so fascinating to me that
Yeah,
like grip strength wasn't the biggest like key in getting this record. Yeah, this is so interesting.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what happened there. There was a fault in my genetics, obviously, in that area.
Julian is wondering, can you describe the moment you thought you would break the record?
Yeah, I'll go into the during the day because I had so much time I could see it coming. But I kind of remember I was so dead at that point. Like I don't really have much of a memory of it. But I kind of remember just taking off my headphones, just soaking in the moment before the final set where I would be able to do it, and just kind of like it kind of pepped up a bit. So that was good. Don't have much to explain there, which is unfortunate. Like a lot of people would feel like, oh, what a relief, but because I could see it coming, it wasn't as like against the clock so much. You weren't as worried. Uh, yeah, I was quite relaxed, like going passing the record. And if you look at the video, I'm not really celebrating either because like I was happy, but I couldn't even lift my hands. I was like dead. I just want to go to sleep. But yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was a lovely moment. It was good because you just kind of think about it before the reps, like everything you did to get up to where you are, and like how stupid it might have been to just sit in the backyard for 6 hours and do a session. Like all the sacrifice of people wouldn't really understand why you would do it, and for the most part, you wouldn't even understand why you're doing it yourself. But to be able to finally come to a conclusion was very nice.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Dee's wondering, what are your self affirmations, if you have any?
Uh, how do you mean by that?
I'm not too
Um,
sure, but I think he might mean like, what did you tell yourself? The mindset. How did you, motivate yourself, or
um,
stick with it.
yeah,
David
because
Goggins
there were
always
times.
talks about. Sorry, go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, yeah. You mentioned Goggins. I did watch a few. So once I found out about him, I like looked into him quite. I never read his book. I plan to. Um, but yeah, he does talk about that self affirmation a lot. I think that's what he got him through a lot of key moments within his life. I think on the day it was pretty I think training was definitely the hardest part because I wasn't really open. I wasn't really talking much about it. Not because I didn't believe that I could do it, but more because like no one really understood it, like what I was doing, and I barely did it. I didn't really. Some at times I was like, why am I doing it myself? So I just needed to find a reason to keep myself going. Um, so yeah, there were times where I was like, what am like you're going out of your mind, by the way, during these huge long sessions. Like I can't even describe to you how like me describing it isn't doesn't justify how horrible it is. Going up to the bar every 30 seconds and doing 5 reps is like Chinese water torture, but instead of water dropping on your head, your hands need to be on that bar. Otherwise, you will not improve that day. And I think that's what got into me. Like, if my hand is on that bar, I would not improve. And me doing 5 hours, because I think I tried to best my 10 pull up a minute rate by every session. So once I got close to what I was at before, I was like, this is all for nothing if you stop now. Like, you've worked 5 hours now and you want to push your like personal record by 20 minutes or 40 minutes or
Mm.
whatever. Um, like it will not happen if you stop. And it was kind of like I was kind of on autopilot. Like I remember one time I hadn't eaten like barely, and I don't know why I did this, but I was maybe into a 3.5 hours into a 4 hour session. So I think I was trying to get to 4 hours 20 minutes, and my previous record was 4 hours, and I got to like 3 hours 40, and I was like dizzy, like hallucinating. I don't know what I just didn't eat before. It was so stupid. And my brother like provided me with like a cheese and bacon roll or something. I just scoffed it down, and I was feeling so bad. I did like a set of 5, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop. And then I got up again. I just sat down again. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I just kept going. I don't know what it is. If you put this idea of like failure in your mind, your body just like retreats from it and it just keeps going. It's so strange. It's almost like reverse psychology. You tell yourself to stop, and because of that, you keep going. It's kind of like when people say to you, "Oh, you can't achieve this," so you're like more likely to motivate yourself to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what it was. So yeah, you wouldn't think. Yeah, I don't know, but I genuinely wanted to stop, but for whatever reason, something deep embedded inside me just wanted to do it, even though my brain and my body was like, "Please stop! Why are you doing this?" But yeah, I think as for affirmations in that regard, it was pretty much that you've gone this far. Why are you stopping? Like you've come so far. That was the main one, but probably nothing as extreme as Goggins ones.
Yeah, right, right. I love that though. That's a really great affirmation. Um, Stefan is wondering, it's a bit of a funny one. Why couldn't you do over 9,000?
Well, actually, believe me, I wanted to if I could, but I couldn't actually. I couldn't straighten my left arm. I mean, my right arm. I couldn't straighten it because it was
Mm,
so stiff. It was like planks of wood. You just couldn't. It was like it wasn't even muscle. It was just like like such a hard surface. So I
yeah.
just couldn't straighten it, and it was at the detriment of potentially ruining my record chances. Because if I would have kept going, the videos would have shown that my form wasn't proper. So I was like, well, I should probably stop because like the pull ups probably won't count if I had to keep going because of me not being able to straighten my arm. So I kind of like forced myself to stop. And once you hit that like 8,000 barrier, like you just lose motivation, kind of.
Mm.
Like you could keep going, but you're just so dead, like you don't want to. And yeah, so yeah, I would have liked to have gone to 9,000, but in the time I had left, it's unlikely.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. How did you stop your like biceps and arms from cramping? Because I remember when I was just doing my 650, I took like an hour break, and as soon as I got back on the bar, like I got massive bicep pain because I took that break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really experience cramps during training, but during the day I did notice that I did. Probably just because of me going for way longer than what I was used to. Uh I don't know. They tell you you're not meant to stop for long, but I kind of did. In the first 14 hours, I was going gung ho, like I just kept going. Um, and then I had breaks because I was getting once I hit like 6,500, I was clearly at like a point where I was not going to improve at that. So I
Mm.
had longer rests, and getting up onto the bar after like 15, 20-minute rest was just absolutely torture. Um, yeah, you just get your body warmed up again. You just have to fight through those initial 20 extra minutes, and then it warms yourself up, and then you're good again.
Yeah, right. So you
But I
didn't.
remember once I hit 7,000, I went for a walk with my mates for about an hour, and I got back and I was like, so,
Oh no, continue.
oh, did about 7,000. Once I hit 7,000, I went out for a walk with my mates for about an hour, just 'cause I want to get fresh air. And we're walking back to the gym. I was like, oh, why did I do this? It's gonna hurt so much. And those initial reps are just absolute torture. Having like had a break for an hour, so stupid, but I didn't even really care. I had plenty of time to go. I was like, yeah, I'll get there, but I don't know why I took such a long break. I could have got to the record a lot faster if I had not gone for that walk. But yeah, it was really painful with the cramping for sure. So don't, if you want to do the record, take as little rest as possible between like different like landmarks. If you get to like 1,000 or over, only take like 10 minutes break.
How did you have energy to go for a walk for an hour when you had 7,000? I feel like that's kind of insane.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really wanted to get out of there. It was like a stroll. It wasn't.
Right.
It was probably like only a kilometer walk, but yeah, you're. I hadn't used my legs really, so like I had energy there. But yeah, I was clearly like not. I was barely cognitive, but I just wanted fresh air. Um, yeah, I don't know why I did that. It was kind of stupid actually. But it was just good to be around
Yeah.
friends. I don't know. Like I felt kind of bad for them because these people come and watch and support you, and I feel like you have to entertain them almost because like they're here to watch you. It's so boring. I don't know what the hell they're watching me for, and I felt kind of guilty because like, are they expecting me to talk to them? Like I've never been in that situation before. I was only ever training by myself, so having people around me was kind of weird. I felt like I was in like a zoo or something, and so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just go for a walk with them just to make them like
Yeah,
stick
make
around
him
for a bit
happy.
longer or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah. So that was good. Even though I was barely talking, but
Yeah.
it was just good to be around them. It was good company. So I think I did it for that reason as well. It was just fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Did you have any music on? Do you listen to
Yeah.
music? Yeah.
Well, the music that they have in the gym is so rubbish. It's like this royalty free like techno music, but it's like really, really bad. It's just yeah.
Are you telling me
Um
you didn't put your own music on?
um no, I did, but that's the thing. I had it on, but you can
Yeah.
still kind of hear it because like I had like these JBL endurance headphones. They're pretty
Yeah.
good, but they're kind of weak because I've just like I pride myself to listen to like volume at max level, which is stupid. Completely destroyed my ears, but I could still hear the music over them. It was just yeah. But yeah, I did listen to my own music, but the gym music just kind of you can't. I don't think they could turn it down either, which is annoying. So yeah, technically I did have music on, but probably
Mm.
not the kind that I wanted.
Yeah, right. Now, do you have any future goals? What's next for you? Do you want to do another record or are you going to take a break for now? Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go for the hour record. That's something that I will do. The most in an hour. I'm already training for it. Um, and then after that, done. Like I have no intention. I mean, that's what I said last time, but I don't know. I just want to. It's good to have a goal in mind always. I think it balances everything out in terms of like uni life, home life, social
Mm.
life, whatever. It's always good to have a goal. It might be
Yeah.
an extreme goal, but as long as it's something I can work towards, then I find that everything else balances out a lot easier. So I'll go for that pull up record, that an hour one, maybe later on in the year. And then I'm done. It's just such a stupid thing to train for at this point for me. I don't even.
Right.
It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a goal to have. But I definitely want to move towards doing other sports as well again.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm guessing you're not really training your legs when you're training for pull-ups, right?
No, you're not. I literally
Yeah.
my legs were pretty much anorexic, even despite all the years of cycling. Like all the muscle just went away, which is annoying. So every time I've gone to the gym now, I've just done legs, like specifically, just to compensate for a year of inactivity. Um, yeah, but I am looking to try other sports as well, just to, I don't know, bit of variety. I would like to get to cycling again, but it's too dangerous in Sydney. Like you probably know as well now. It's just so much traffic and all the cars hate you and stuff, which is fair enough. I could see why. But yeah, it's just such a hard sport to do. Like I think I owe a lot to what I could achieve from what I achieved. I mean, I owe a lot to what I achieved from my cycling because it just helped me stay disciplined, and it's just such a painful sport. But yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jaxon, for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time. It's really
yeah.
fascinating to hear.
Thank
And
you for having me.
it's probably the most detailed training guide for any future pull-up holder. So yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, not at
Yeah.
all. I hope they can take it as a grain of salt because everyone's different. But hopefully, what I've provided is enough for whoever else who wants to get the record to have a crack at it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's going to be really interesting in the future to see how people's training strategies like change and as people figure out how to train better, like how high the record's going to go. Because I think it's definitely going to hit 10K within a
Oh
few
yeah,
years,
yeah,
which
it's
is
definitely doable.
insane.
Yeah, definitely doable.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I'd go for it again unless someone forces me out of retirement. But no, I don't think I'd do it again. It's for someone else to do. I hit 8,000. Someone needs to go for 9. They just keep adding to it. I think. Hopefully, we get a
Yeah.
good community going.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.